So on Friday, July 18, the very same day that U.S. President Donald Trump was filing his $10 billion lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal, another lawsuit was being hashed on the same day, and this by the FIP, the Federation of Indian Pilots, for defamation against their dead pilots in the Air India crash, the Boeing 787, that crashed in June. Well, it's a good thing Rupert Murdoch is worth $25 billion. Because I have a feeling he's going to need it.
Maximus!
Well, on Saturday, July 19, the Federation of Indian Pilots President Captain C.S. Randhawa called out the Wall Street Journal and Reuters, accusing them of not basing their reports on factual content while highlighting the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau's preliminary report on the Air India 787 plane crash, in which more than 250 people were killed. Captain Randhawa's strong remark followed the FIP's initiation of legal action through a formal notice to the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. Additionally, they are demanding a formal apology from both media outlets. Strongly criticizing the Wall Street Journal and Reuters, Randhawa blamed them for misleading the public, alleging that their reports are not based on factual content. The union president said, "I would totally blame the Wall Street Journal for misleading the public. They came out with their own conclusions. Are they the investigative body?" he asked. Speaking to ANI, Asian News International, he then said, "They're talking all this crap around the world. They are not the investigative body, and the reports are not based on any factual content, which is mentioned in the preliminary report. So how can they jump to conclusions and give press statements around the world?" he asked. Captain Randhawa said that the FIP has issued a legal notice asking them to issue a statement in the press giving an explanation for their reporting of the AAIB preliminary reports. He continued in his anger, saying, "We strongly condemn it, and we've also issued legal notices to the Wall Street Journal and Reuters. We've clearly said that how can you jump to these conclusions which are not part of the preliminary reports of the AAIB? How can you blame the pilots? So we have asked for an explanation and have asked that you give a statement to the press." He concluded by saying, "And if they don't do it, then they will see further action." As I mentioned, on Friday, July 18, the Federation of Indian Pilots, or the FIP, initiated legal action by sending a formal notice to the Wall Street Journal and Reuters over their accident reports on the Air India June 12 Dreamliner crash. And the pilots have also demanded an apology. In an email to Reuters and the Wall Street Journal, the Indian Pilots Union stated, "It has come to our attention that certain sections of the international media are repeatedly attempting to draw conclusions through selective and unverified reporting." In the email, the Pilots Union stressed that such actions are irresponsible, especially while the investigation remains ongoing. They said that while an accident of this dimension has drawn public attention and shock, however, it needs to be appreciated that this is not the time to create public anxiety or angst towards the safety of the Indian aviation industry, particularly on the basis of unfounded facts. Referring to the ongoing investigation by the AAIB, the email states, "We demand you desist from publishing or circulating any content that speculates on the cause of the crash or attributes fault to any individuals, especially deceased pilots, in the absence of official confirmation and the final report." I don't think I saw Maximus Aviation anywhere in that lawsuit. Anyway, the FIP further wrote that we are instructed to place on the record that the publication of such speculative content is highly irresponsible and has caused grave and irreparable harm to the reputation of the deceased pilots who are unable to defend themselves. In doing so, Reuters has also inflicted unnecessary distress on the bereaved families and diminished the morale of the pilot fraternity, which operates under immense pressure and public responsibility. Additionally, the Indian Pilots Union has strongly urged the media outlets to refrain from further speculation, writing that, in view of the above and pending the release of conclusive findings from the official investigation, we are instructed to caution Reuters and all affiliated platforms against further dissemination or amplification of unverified, speculative, or unofficial theories relating to the crash and pilots operating the plane. The legal notice specifically calls upon Reuters to cease and desist from publishing or circulating any further content that speculates on the cause of the crash or attributes fault to any individuals, especially the deceased pilots, in the absence of an official confirmation and final report. But wait, there's more. Additionally, the union wants the Wall Street Journal and Reuters to, quote, promptly review and amend the article dated July 17, 2025, to include an appropriate disclaimer and remove any content that could be construed as attributing blame. I don't know if they know about the U.S. Constitution and the freedom of press in India. Anyway, the Indian Pilots Union also has asked them to issue a clarification acknowledging that the authorities have released no final conclusions and that the article was based on secondary and hearsay reports. The notice further cautions, please note that the failure to act in accordance with this notice may compel our client to pursue all legal remedies available under applicable law for defamation, mental anguish, and reputational harm. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, responsible for the investigation of aviation accidents in the U.S., issued a strong rebuke of recent media coverage made over the preliminary investigative report on the aftermath of the ill-fated Air India 171 crash that claimed 260 lives. In the statement, the NTSB Chairwoman Jennifer Homendy said recent media reports on the Air India 171 crash are premature and speculative. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau just released its preliminary report. Investigations of this magnitude take time, and we fully support the AAIB's public appeal, which was released Thursday, and will continue to support its ongoing investigation. All investigative questions should be addressed to the AAIB. And speaking to the Asian News International on the NTSB statement, President of the Federation of Indian Pilots, Captain Randhawa, said, "We are happy with the statement from the NTSB. This will put a stop to the reports in the Western media." Oh, no. You do not know the U.S. Anyway, they are in their own world and think they can publish and get away with it. Yeah, they can. The Indian report is very clear. We have to wait for the final report to come. So how about that? The union is fighting for the reputation of their fallen comrades. And hey, that's what unions do. And to be fair, and I consider myself part of the media who have been speculating on the crash of the Air India Dreamliner. At this point, and until we get the final report, factually at least, the union is right. They are just rumors at this point. However, with that said, if the rumors eventually do turn out to be true, what will the unions have to say then? And also, what role will the U.S. Constitution and freedom of speech play in all this? Well, I guess we won't know until we know. But in the meantime, I do want to know what you think. So please be sure and let me know down below. And as always, until next time, this is Maximus.
Maximus!